Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. Today we have a very friendly fellow that I want to introduce you to. Because, well, if there's anybody who's going to come up with some interesting miniatures, it's going to be Bestiarum Miniatures. This, right here, friends, is the Traveler. He is a jolly little fellow. Look at that grin on his face. He's so happy to be here, but you may have noticed he's got tentacles growing all over him. Well, that is appropriate. Our friend here, the Traveler, loves to help, and he loves to work, and he brings his own tools even with him. He's dressed for the job. But the thing about our Traveler here is much like the Mogwai. He often duplicates himself. So this is one of those few times where all of those various poses that models often have really are absolutely appropriate. Yet again, ready to work, brings his own tools with him. Clothes may not fit as well this time around. And, well, we seem to be losing even more and more there, but we're getting more and more into it. Again, look at that happy face. Look at just the blubber and tentacles everywhere. And already, as soon as I saw these guys, my mind was racing. Oh, man, these guys are going to make all kinds of fun, weird, plague-type, messed up, tentacly... Oh, gosh. There's like already so many different places you can stick them if you're going to, use Bestiarum's world-building stuff that they've been putting out. Doedim, I think it was called. The fish place with all of the various tentacled Lovecraftian Deep One types. So what was really cool about this is, besides the fact that obviously we have multiple poses of this same character, it reminded me of the old sets of figures that I used to get as a kid where, they started off as kind of level 1 and then eventually progressed to their final forms. That whole evolutionary kind of physical capture, something that I've always enjoyed with both, physical figures as well as video games. I've always been a sucker for job changing, class changing, stuff like that. When it was physically represented, or visually represented, I should say, I guess, on whatever medium the game is taking place. So while we have these small versions, and I do mean they're small, using a standard Bestiarum figure here, just as a sense of scale. And if we can find our usual witch hunter friend who's around here somewhere. I've got a lot of stuff piled on my table, and I need to put it away. So yeah, Bestiarum is pretty good about making sure that their human-sized figures are just that, and that they'll fit in with a lot of different ranges. So if you haven't really tried playing around with their stuff, I'll be honest, they come in all kinds of different sizes, which we'll get to in a little bit. So the thing about our Traveler friend is, while he loves to help, sometimes he does get a little carried away. And in that case, he's got upgraded forms, which I thought was really fun. So rather than just being on a 25mm base, now he barely fits on a 40. And you can see he's ditched the clothing completely. Oh, he's got some extra arms now, as well as just the myriad of tentacles growing every which way from him. So, again, multiple poses. And if that wasn't enough, there was a third stage that I did not get a chance to print yet, and unfortunately I was not being as careful as I should have, removing other things from the print bed, and got a nice little hole in it, so I am waiting for the replacement sheets to show up, hopefully soon. But while there is a stopgap that I can at least, orally describe to you as a version of this same figure as a beast of burden with multiple legs and little miniature versions of him, like the pygmy trollkin that would run around. In addition to that, they have the final form, which is really what I wanted to show off today, because I saw that, I was like, oh crap, I gotta print that thing. And so here we have the final form of our friend the Traveler in true Bestiarum grotesquity. That's not a word, and you're not one of them, so you hang out over there for a moment. This thing is just nuts. So, first of all, this is actually a major misprint for me. You can't really catch it, can you? I'll show you in a sec. There were some issues with the tentacles But here, check this out. This just did not print well, and I think that's about the time that things were starting to really degrade on the sheet at the bottom of the vat. So that's why we replaced it. It got really thin. I was playing around and it just came off. And you can see there are plenty of holes for drainage. This was originally 3 pieces. You had the main body, and you can see here where the mouth is opening to have the head connected. The head and tentacles or a separate piece. Not sure what's going on in his backside there. And then finally, the tongue with all of its various things growing out of it was an entirely separate piece as well. It's interesting to note that he does not have a face anymore. He's just got a single mono eye. There are eyes in other locations on his body, such as is in his hands. And he's got this interesting halo thing going on around his head. So I don't know what's going on there. You can read up on the lore yourself when you take a look at the site. But I really love this size of figure. And at first, I will admit, I was kind of irritated at myself for letting the print sheet at the bottom of the vat get to the point that it did. But all in all, other than the fact that it's really hard to figure out where exactly he's supposed to sit on this base, there's no real clear-cut markings, and it's a lot of me just kind of spinning it around in circles, trying to figure out where exactly. I still don't know. I feel like, okay, that feels right. So you get a good sense of the scale. It's an interesting figure. There's no denying that. Just like that it's beyond description, and the fact that, you know, it's kind of thematically linked to everything else. And if you've seen some of the Dark Denizens that they've put out, like my poor merchant slug mollusk thing that I have yet to finish getting around to painting because I'm busy painting my Bestiarum Etten and a bunch of big primordial creatures that other people have put out. At some point we're going to get to it. But that's the kind of cool thing about the Bestiarum stuff, is it just has its own very unique style to it. And I'm always going to be one for that style of modeling and figures. Something that, you know, you can use for various games. I mean, looking at these Nurglings, Poxwalkers, what have you, definitely I could see people using this stuff for very chaos adjacent models, obviously. And I think they'd be a lot of fun with that. Just the sheer weirdness and the tentacles everywhere. I'm sure you guys can find some kind of Lovecraftian use for them. Tabletop RPGs, skirmish games. I mean, they're not beholden to one specific little niche game, you know, and I think that's a good thing. So, I mean, my first thought was, with that Halo as well, Trench Crusade, Trench Invasion, and I mean, heck, the fact that Bestiarum's already been putting out their own guys to, you know, hang in the trenches as it is, that's a good sign. Why not have this be some big, you know, Court of the Seven-Headed Beast or whatever it's called? I can't even remember now. And if you haven't ever had a chance to before to check out Bestiarum stuff, there's a lot of cool figures. Like, I honestly, their kind of barbarian lord here has been one of my really go-to favorites for a while. He's constantly sitting on the table here, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, if you haven't had a chance, we've got the Traveler up now, as well as a whole dark carnival thing. I know a lot of people like that for things like Mordheim. I've never been a big fan, honestly, so I haven't gotten around to renting it yet. I was going to say painting, but that's assuming that I get to it. I'm not sure if this guy is available anymore either. I just have him handy. You might want to take a look at Bestiarum's site. He was available from their last survey, and hopefully if he's not there, you can go and bug them, and they'll get you hooked up with that for answering the questions, because he's a very bloodborne-ish character that would love to hang out with all these nice tentacled Gribblies. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at the site, we'll have a link down below, and hopefully you're going to find some nastiness there that you will enjoy just as much as I have. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.